Hey everyone, welcome back to Beekeeping with Natalie, or welcome to if you're new. Today we're going to be adding supers. I actually haven't made a video on this yet, but we've been adding supers for a few weeks now. We did it whenever we were making splits. There were a few that we ended up adding supers to. We're doing a lot of single brood management this year, so if you don't know, there's single brood or you can do double deeps, which is basically just their brood box here. We do 10 frame deep boxes, and a lot of the times, like last year, we did a lot of double deeps and then we would put our queen excluder and then like 3-4 supers, but you actually tend to get a lot more honey on single brood, and we're kind of at that point now, especially with going full time, that it's important for us to be able to make honey so that we can make money. And so we've been doing a lot more single brood. It's not my favorite. If I had to pick, I wouldn't pick single brood, but it's just the practical thing to do right now, so that's what we're doing. But it's just a lot of, there's just little things to it that bother me. Like one of the things about, like I hate pulling supers off of single brood just because they have all that space that they were in, and then you're taking away all of that space down to one box and they never have anywhere to go. So then they're all on the outside and they won't get out of the supers, so it just can kind of be a mess. So usually what we have to do is take all of those supers off, which it can be up to like 8 of them, and put a box down, like a deep box, so it gives them plenty of room, and then put all those 8 supers back on. So it's just a lot more work, but there is a lot more honey to it, so from what I've noticed at least. So this was a yard that I think we've never filmed in here, I guess. Yeah, we've never filmed in this yard. It's a really pretty spot. It's right off of the road, but it's not a busy road at all. I mean, maybe one car goes by every 3 times we're here, but basically we started this as a nuke yard. It was just going to be where we dropped a bunch of nukes for like a couple of weeks, put cells in, had them go get mated, and then we were going to just sell them. But we like the yard so much, and the location where it's at, it's pretty close to home and our other yards, that the owners of the yard here actually were okay with us just keeping bees here. So we're going to keep them here for, I don't know how long, we'll just see. These were just some of the ones that didn't take, or something was weird, and we're gonna build them back up now. But there were a few over this yard that didn't take with queen cells, so we dropped some nukes in there. And I don't remember what all of these were, but there's a few over here now. We'll just continue to build them up. But this one is ready to go for supers. There's 2 of them here that I know need supers, and the way that you can kind of tell is a lot of times whenever, like if you're doing a split and it's your first year split, or you just bought a nuke, whatever it is, a lot of times they'll start with like maybe 5 frames here, and then we like to put drawn and a couple foundation frames. If you only have foundation, that's okay, but they'll draw it out and start to fill it, and like these outside frames are just chock full of honey. So I can see just looking down that they're full. So once they start to get full in those frames, they don't have any room. She doesn't have room to lay, they don't have room to store stuff, they start to get too big, and then they're gonna wanna swarm. So that's why we'll go ahead and add these supers. But all it is, we do use queen excluders. I know there's some people do, some people don't. We've messed around with it a little bit. Every now and then we won't use them, but every time we don't use them, the queen always ends up in there and it's just a hot mess, and I don't like doing it, but sometimes it can be a pain to try and get them up into that super. But so far this year, it's been okay. Now, somewhere over in this field, there's some sweet yellow clover, and that's our main flow. I talk about black locust a lot, and that's a really good flow. It's over. It's completely done at this point. We'll probably actually be pulling that pretty soon because we like to keep it separate because it's so rich and just like clear, like it looks like water. So we like to keep it separate from the clover and the fall honey. But black locust is a really good start to the season. Then we have a little bit of dearth, which is right now, and then the yellow clover will start up hopefully within the next couple of days to a week.
There's also the Dutch clover.
Yeah, there's also the little Dutch clover. That's the short white stuff that's on the ground. And then the black locust, if you don't know, those are the trees that they only bloom for, it feels like a couple days, honestly. But anyways, with the weather we have this week, I'm hoping that the clover will start up. And I say this a lot in my videos, but the weather app is your best friend as a beekeeper. And we check it every day because you never know if it's going to rain that next day and you have to work bees, or whatever the weather looks like will kind of help you determine what the plants are going to do. And so it's really good weather. It looks nice. We've had a good bit of rain too. It looked like it was going to rain here in a little bit, which will be good. So far we haven't had a crazy amount of rain. Like I feel like it's been pretty reasonable. But
what do you have in those supers?
Yeah, so this is just, we always add 2 boxes whenever we're adding supers because we like to be ahead of the game. Like I mentioned, the clover's not started yet, and I know it hasn't because 1, they're not on it. Like we'll look on the side of the road and they're not on it, touching it at all. And 2, we have some frames that are just, maybe have a little bit of food in them that came from a split or whatever it is, that are just sitting outside and they're robbing it like crazy. Like the second it gets set out, they're on it. That's another way to kind of figure out if you're in a dearth or not. I mean, probably a week ago, they wouldn't have touched it. Like it would have taken them a couple of days to get to it. But today, like we left some stuff out and they're all over it. So I'm assuming we're in a little bit of a dearth. They'll also not leave you alone. Like you can just be in the yard and they'll just be tapping you and kind of bothering you. And it's because usually there's in a dearth and they don't have anything to do. They can't find anything. So now if you don't have drawn comb, of course you can just use foundation or foundationless. When it comes to supers, we like to give them at least something to start on unless we're doing comb honey. But this is just drawn comb from last year. It looks pretty new. I would assume it's within the next, like within the last 2 years. It was probably last year. It looks really light. But the supers, always the wax tends to be a lot lighter for longer because there's no brood in it most of the time. Like we never get brood in there. But this is all drawn, and then in the middle here, I have 2 frames of just foundation. And we actually stored them like this, so that way we could just go in and pull it out for whenever the flow starts and we don't have to mess with putting them together. So we just pull out 2 and then put 2 foundation in. That way we're at least still getting some drawn comb made because we're definitely going to need it. The more we grow and progress, the more we're going to need some drawn comb. So we're just putting 2 in there, and if anything, they'll start to fill those outside ones and then work towards the middle a little bit, and they'll get to those frames. Now I have another one I'm going to do here, and I'll talk a little bit about, I think I kind of talked about why we put 2 on, just to be ahead of the game. And it's really not giving them too much space. It's kind of like adding just another brood box. So they should be fine. If we're planning on, like we know we aren't going to be able to get into that hive for a couple of weeks, we will put maybe 3 or 4 on. But that's one thing about beekeeping. A lot of people tell you can't travel when you have bees, which is true in the spring. When it's splitting season, no, there's no way. We cannot travel during that time. But during the summertime, I do feel like it's pretty possible, just because if you put on a bunch of supers on your hives, spend a couple of days doing that, they'll be good for a week or 2. Oh, do I want to check them? I could. I guess we can do that. They look pretty good. I might just do a tip test just for fun. This time of year we just do it. If I remember, I'll try to do it on most of them. It's got a good bit of weight to it. There's nothing on the bottom here. They look fine. They're a little empty, like they're not crazy full, but yeah, it is rocking, but I don't know why. These pallets, the clips on them are a little messed up, but they still work. But even though they're not crazy full, if there's just like 1 or 2 frames that are empty, I'll still go ahead and put supers on. Just, again, trying to be ahead. So this is just a new foundation frame that we dropped in. They still have this side to fill out. Other than that, all of this is filled. This is all merging brood, hatching brood, whatever you want to call it. She's laid in all of this too, so that looks really good. Just pull out another frame here just to see what they look like. Just one more, that's what we always say. 10 frames later. Well, that looks really good.
Yes.
That looks great. So They got a couple of frames like that, it looks like. So that's another thing. Checking them is always we always check them before we put supers on, but they were just checked. But another reason, because if you see frames like that are just full of brood, like just slabs of brood, then you know in a couple of days they're going to be exploding and they're going to have anywhere to go and they're going to want to do something. So that's another thing, is just watching for that, watching the plants, watching the weather, yeah.
Your bees.
Watching your bees, see if they're acting like a dearth. So it's not always being in the hive. There's a lot of stuff outside of the hive that's really important too. Another thing that I will say, if you're gonna do 9 frames, like drawn or foundation, whatever you want to do, we don't like to, if I'm doing foundation, like the whole thing is foundation, I don't like to do 9 frames just because it gives them so much space that they draw those frames out so much. It makes everything a lot more difficult. But if this was all like not propolized and we were using foundation, you can just shake the box and then it spaces them out, not perfectly, but pretty freaking close. Instead of using a spacer, you can get a spacer really anywhere, but that's just one thing that we'll do if we want to do 9 frames, make them a little bit thicker on the drawn comb or whatever it is, then we will. But that's just one way you can space them out really fast. Like just as you're walking over to the hive, just shake it and it'll space them out. But when we have 10 frames, it doesn't matter. So we will come back in maybe a couple days to a week and see what they're looking like. And then like if they're not working these outside frames, they're just working the middle, we'll just scoot them out. So we'll just kind of flip them, take those middle ones, put them to the outside. That way they start to work it. So it's just little things now for the rest of the season, I think. Just a lot of checking supers, making sure they have plenty of space, and we're not out of swarm season. We'll still have to check for sure, but now they're all pretty much set for this season. So we're gonna go ahead and continue adding supers to a bunch of these hives because I think that clover is definitely about to start. There's also the white clover, which is, it's not the same thing as the yellow, but pretty much. And those bloom right around the same time. And then we'll have like our fall flow, but that'll pretty much be it. So it's flying by this season. So anyway, I think that's it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of all for today's video. Thanks for watching. Follow along for more bee adventures and be here next time on Beekeeping with Natalie.